What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Slam podcast, where I talk about anything and everything because I can. So I want to discuss some of the issues that we have in the Hmong community and really go into what we should or can do to improve the internal or external relationships that Hmong men have with their significant others so that we can find some common ground. In America and some isolated cases around the world, we have seen a movement to empower Hmong women, and I think why this is happening is because there seems to finally be an awakening or move towards progressiveness, because in today's society, the way we treat Hmong women and the expectations that we have for them does not fit the status quo. Especially in such a free-thinking country such as America. For a long time, I never took time to pay attention or ask how a Hmong woman feels about the ancient cultural ideologies that may be troubling her mind. For those of you who don't know or haven't watched my previous episodes, I go into a bit of detail into how Hmong culture negatively impacts Hmong women and how the system is stacked against them. In our culture, women are expected to be obedient to their male counterparts and especially their husbands. They cannot talk back or openly speak their mind. They're often victims of domestic or verbal abuse and murder-suicides. Hmong women are expected to bear children and raise them, to cook and clean. When a Hmong woman has to squeeze by or walk past a man, they bow slightly. When we have family gatherings, men and children eat first, but the women who are up all night and day cooking are the last ones to eat, and in most cases are not allowed to sit at the table. This is what a patriarchal society looks like. So as you can already tell, these examples can be detrimental to a Hmong woman's mental health and self-esteem. What this teaches Hmong women is that in order for them to fit into Hmong society, they must abide by these rules that have been in place for hundreds of years, if not longer. It is all they know as a Hmong woman to be subservient. How this can affect their mental health is that there are so many things to balance as a Hmong woman. You have all these tasks handed out to you, and you are expected to perform them without question. And if you don't have the know-how to perform these duties, you are looked down upon poorly as an incapable Hmong daughter and daughter-in-law. Hmong women are quite literally raised to become the perfect wife. That is the meaning of their entire existence now that I take a deeper look at it, and it's quite sad. Men aren't built to become the perfect husband because there is no emphasis on it. That's why we have such a high percentage of cases of mistreatment towards women perpetuated by men, because we're raised to expect our wives to do what we tell them and to do it perfectly. When the only value that you have as a woman is to serve, then you might start to see little value in yourself and what you mean to your community. And let's just be really honest here, guys. No one wants to wake up at 4 a.m. to go and butcher live chickens all day for the next family gathering. No one wants to wash the mountain of dishes that the 40 men downstairs made. No one wants to eat last when they've been anticipating the food that they've been cooking for 10 hours. No one wants to be forced to be sent back to their abusive husband and told to just be patient or 先得. No one. So when we look at all of these things, you'll start to believe that your worth is very little. That your interests and wants cannot be met because the culture doesn't focus on what you want. This leads to increased levels of stress, low self-esteem, higher rates of suicide, higher cases of running away from home. I can't speak on Hmong women's behalf, but if I was to be in their position, I would feel this is what my value is to my community, and I don't like it. Why am I just a slave? Why are these expectations put in place? Do I have nothing else to offer my family? When do I get what I want? What about my happiness? My duties are to sacrifice my well-being for the men in this community. On top of all this added stress, Hmong women are more likely than men to be told to attain higher education, and I think this really stems from the dowry or bride price when we marry a Hmong woman. In the past, I've seen that an educated woman's dowry price is higher than a woman who has no higher education. If she has a master's degree, she is more valuable than a woman who only has a bachelor's degree. I've been told that a dowry was meant to be money given to the bride's family to make up for the family now losing an extra helping hand, and also to extend their gratitude for allowing the groom's family to take their daughter. So now that takes us right back to a Hmong daughter's worth. She is the helping hand. That's her worth. But I think it's important to note that back then we were so poor that losing a helping hand meant that you could have a less favorable harvest from your gardens because you didn't have an extra set of hands to help you. It was the difference between hunger and being fed just enough to survive the day. Parents were often so busy at the garden or collecting essentials from the jungles that they would leave their eldest daughters to care for the younger siblings. So now that she is being married off, the parents will now have to split their caretaking efforts or distribute it among the other children. Now, bringing it back to attaining higher education, this tells women that their value is already predetermined based on what she can achieve in life, and not so much who she is as a person. It's almost dehumanizing and really objectifies a Hmong woman. On surface level, it is very superficial. So despite a Hmong daughter being raised to be a helping hand, to become a good daughter-in-law and bring honor to her family, the things that I listed before are some of the biggest reasons why Hmong women are so strong. They are the backbone of Hmong society and are the ones that make things happen. They are often so underappreciated for all the work they put in. And so, how I think Hmong men can help Hmong women, especially their significant others, have a better understanding of how these cultural challenges may affect them, we need to start having open discussions with them about these issues. Many times, it's a great relief for us to just talk about our problems, as it can shed a layer of weight off our shoulders. Let's start asking women how these expectations make them feel and how it changed their outlook on life, the culture, Hmong men, what their worth is, etc. We need to take a look into their life, their perspective, and ask if this is what we'd want for ourselves if we were women. I'm willing to bet the majority of us would say no. And if your answer is no, then let's start looking at better options for the current and future generations of Hmong daughters. How can we help pave the way for change? What can we do as men to support our strong Hmong women? We've already went through one thing on the list, and that's asking them how they feel and listening to them without judgments or preconceived notions. The next step would be formulating a plan to see these changes through, even if it is at the expense of a Hmong man's expectations for women being challenged. It is so easy to subscribe to an ideology that is geared towards the benefit of your sex. In our culture, men have fallen into this sort of tribalism that what they do is their own and they cannot share it with the opposite sex, because the opposite sex is less dominant in ways that they are second-class citizens. Following this step, you have to be able to speak up for your wife or your girlfriend. In recent years, I've been reading and even hearing stories from Hmong women that they wish their husbands would speak out for them. Examples would be when a woman would get off work and immediately be told from her in-laws that she has to do 1,000 different tasks before she can go to bed. She has to cook first, then do the laundry, clean the house, etc. If she even dares sit down for 5 minutes to take a break, her in-laws will scold her and verbally abuse her while her husband just watches and tells her that it's nothing and that she best get a move on so she doesn't upset his parents any further. In cases like this, men have to do better and say, she literally just got off work. She needs a break. This can wait. Or, it's nothing to worry about. I can do it. I'm fully capable of helping around the house. Don't worry, just relax. I got this. Mom, Dad, you must understand that your daughter-in-law is very tired. Let her rest. In other cases, some women have a hard time bearing children, and relatives will talk down about her because of it. The husband knows this, and he will stand idly by and do nothing. Say nothing. And this is what you call a bitch-made-ass dude. If you can't even protect your wife, then why did you even marry her? We have to do better. We have to speak up for our wives and girlfriends if they cannot find their own voices due to the culture silencing them to a point where it's difficult for them to speak their minds. And lastly, talk about it. Talk about the negative effects our culture has on our Hmong women. There's nothing better than bringing awareness to this issue so that we can address them. Let's be the voice of reason, guys, so that we can have a level of transparency and understanding with each other. Ask yourself if this is the life that you would want for your own daughter. As for my own thoughts, I still find difficulty in trying to change the culture because with everything we do, we are still forced to follow the old ways because our elders are immigrants. So these ideas have been ingrained into their minds in countries or areas that have had no external stimulation or influences to challenge these rules until now. We moved to more progressive parts of the world where Hmong women have seen what true freedom looks and feels like. But seeing that a large majority of us are first or second generation Americans, I don't know if we'll see the types of changes as soon as we want because many of us, including myself, still fear being alienated, outcasted, or afraid of what the traditional elders might have to say about us. On one side of the cultural spectrum, you want to learn the old ways to keep the tradition alive after the elders are gone. But on the other side, there are things that you want to change to engage in a better quality of life for Hmong women. But during our gatherings, we tend to only do one thing, and that is the continuation of oppression towards women while doing our best to learn the traditions because our elders are still very much prevalent in our lives. And we rely on their guidance to make these important gatherings happen. But at what cost? Yes, I'm still very much afraid of what the elders might do or say should I challenge their archaic thoughts. Yes, I'm not sure what the best avenue is to speak about these issues openly with our elders. But one thing I am sure of is that I'm going to use this platform to voice my opinions and bring awareness about these social injustices that Hmong women face. I know that one day our women will be on equal terms as men. It won't happen overnight. There's still a lot of work to do, but at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Hmong men have nothing to lose, but Hmong women have everything to gain. That is it for this weekend's episode of the Let's Slam podcast. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comments section below. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys again on the next episode of the Let's Slam podcast. Peace.